to officially hit record. So we're good there. Oscar, how you doing today, brother?
How you doing? Good, good yourself?
Good, good, man. I know we haven't officially, met yet, but I'm sure we will meet somewhere. We've got Missouri on the line. Oscar, you're here in Texas, correct?
Yes, sir.
Yep. So we got Missouri, we got Texas, and I'm going to continue to monitor, the airwaves, so to speak, to let people in and make sure lines are muted and that everyone is the masses are kind of gathered, for this awesome information that Ray's going to bring to you. And before I turn this thing over to Ray, I just wanted to say how thankful I am, for his time and this opportunity, and also to try to help people understand how pivotal it is what Ray has been able to do. Because thus far on the fiber side of this thing, you have people who hear about, HempCrete and they will acquire some herd, and then you have some people that will acquire lime. So they'll have herd, they'll have lime, and they'll have water, and they're like, man, all right, what do we do now? Well, let's go try to find a builder who knows how to build with HempCrete, and they can't find a builder who knows how to build with HempCrete. So they end up getting frustrated as hell. And they're, trying to look at YouTube videos to figure this whole process out and everything. And it just ends up being a big mess. And people get frustrated and they quit. I love the fact that Ray has come up with an end-to-end solution to be able to contact one person one time and say, hey, here's my budget. What can we do to get this thing done? And Ray kicks that off and Ray can make that happen. So I was really, to the moon excited when I saw him, and I ran into Sandra this past weekend at this conference that I was at, in Austin. And, I was like, man, I got to get this guy in front of some people so we can let him know what he's able to put together and do, for this industry as it emerges. And we're at the very beginning. We're the first car in the freight. We're in the whole, freight train. We're the first car, guys. We really are. So really excited for him to come out here and share this information with you guys. So with that said, I'm going to turn this over to Ray Kaderli. Ray, can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I can hear you just fine. How about, can you hear me?
Yes, sir. I can hear you just fine. You're looking dapper. Nice shirt, man.
Oh, thanks. And yeah, thanks for having me on. It's been the industry is emerging and it's exciting, but it's also frustrating. And so a lot of those opportunities are born out of the need and necessity and just to make it happen.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So, man, so Ray, tell us a little bit about you, man. Where are you at in this world doing this crazy thing called HempCrete? Where are you pulling this off from?
Well, I'm currently in New Braunfels, Texas. I'm originally from New Braunfels, right in between San Antonio and Austin. And
Okay,
I'm a
right on.
fifth generation square-headed German from New Braunfels. On my dad's side, we go all the way back to the immigration boats. They came in and up through New Braunfels and Fredericksburg and, got the family crest hanging in Worst Hall and all of that 9 yards. And so I like being from here. I grew up here all my life. In 2006, I moved to Virginia, just going after a job, working out in that neck of the woods. It was a real estate related job. That's my background. Has primarily been in real estate for the past couple decades. Had a few other careers in previous lifetimes before that, but most of all of them have been self-employed entrepreneurial pursuits ever since I was 9 years old. And
Wow.
so,
Wow.
I moved out there to Virginia, got settled in out there. We've got 4 seasons. For those of you in Texas here, we have like hot, less hot, and damn, it's cold. And so, winter's 2 weeks in the middle of February sometime. You just don't know when it's going to be. But no, I still live in Virginia and I'm back and forth in Texas quite a bit. Love the Texas real estate market. I'm a broker in Texas as well as Virginia. And then one of the things I'm doing is, like I said, I focus on the investment side of real estate, and we're building houses to hold as rental properties for our family. And that's when I got drawn to the hemp as a building material. I watched legislation and what affects real estate, what it affects investment and things like that. And I saw the Farm Bill come across in 2018. And boy, that was like opening the doors to an all-you-can-eat entrepreneurs buffet. It was so much fun, just to learn all the different things that could be done. It's a fascinating plant. It catches the eye. Everybody's drawn to it. It's like, ooh, what do you do with that? And then all the nuances, everybody's first learning experience to it. But when I saw some of the building products that were coming out, I'm like, wow, well, that makes a lot of sense. And I'm building these houses. I'm building these houses to hold as rental properties. And so I want them to be quality. I want them to last. And I was drawn to HempCrete because it's a superior product. And so with that in mind, I started researching a little bit more and found, information, misinformation, and then just kept researching and moving forward. And well, could I do this? Could I use it in the houses? Because the HempCrete providing the insulation, the higher insulation value, I'm renting these properties with utilities included. And so I've designed them for solar, to where the utility bill can be something where it's a profit center for me, especially if I have an efficient house. And so combine that with, I've done a lot of fix and flip in renovation properties, and I just saw how poor the quality was on all the products that were out there. It's not severely bad, but it's not severely good either. There's some definite flaws in the building system and the building sciences that are out there that have opportunities. We're trying to make houses airtight, and then when we do, we cause other problems by creating that efficiency. And so the old houses would never have mold in them because they could dry back out. Well, they're murder to heat and cool because they don't breathe, they blow. The wind goes through them. And so there's a lot of opportunities on there as well. So having it all come together with the science and the technology and something that's really basic and simple. It wasn't complicated. There's a lot of improvements that are trying to make their way into the building and construction space, but they're very complex, they're very complicated, and they're also very synthetic. They're manufactured with plastic, styrofoam, the whole 9 yards is something that's not environmentally sound. And I mentioned careers that I had in a previous lifetime. I ran a regional recycling facility where we would take in organic material like trees and brush, grind them up, make mulch and compost. And so I got very familiar with that cycle of things, and I really enjoyed how that would apply to just the organic volume of organic material that was produced in something like a textile industry, where you're taking one part of the plant away, whether it's textiles, whether it's grain, and then you leave a mountain of byproduct. That's always intrigued me, the recycling and the second and third use to an item, and just a little bit of a scavenger. So I like the ingenuity in it. I like the longevity of the product. I like the quality of the product. And then I'm like, okay, let's see about doing that. And then that's when it gets difficult. If anybody's tried to do a project, whether it's big or whether it's small, it's a pain in the neck at best. And so, supply chains have been in the news here recently because of import, export on everything. And that was the case, and that was the norm when supply chains were good. And so, now what would normally be, a 4 to 6 week lead time on something is a 14 to 16 week lead time on something. I was like, I got time to plant a crop, grow it, and make something happen. And so that's the downside to it right now. And then it's very difficult. And that'll lead me into the 5 things that have to be present for a project to succeed, because with any one of those 5 things missing, the project will fail. And so, but those supply chains are one of the key things. And then we just worked everything backwards from there. And so, but the exciting thing is, and I'll just lead with this, is that that is being produced in Texas within the next 1 to 3 years. There are, I'm talking with folks who are putting in the manufacturing and processing. I'm touring and going to the farms that are growing it. They're making their genetic selection. They're doing their test plots. They're growing. Everything is working behind the scenes to bring this market to fruition. And it's gone from being an infant to where it's a kind of a wobbly toddler at this point. It's a wobbly toddler that is going to run really quick. And so that's the exciting part. Do you want me to go through the different components of what I put together that makes a project work well?
Yeah, absolutely. And then too, I would be remiss if we didn't at some point talk about, people in other states being able to get started, because I would assume it'd be more of a consultation, thing, initially, because people are trying to figure it out in other states. But we can get into that after,
Right.
you're
Yeah,
driving,
and then
brother.
and I'm happy to network. The network that we're building is set up to be nationwide. Now we're active, boots on the ground building in San Antonio, Austin. I've got some active crews in Houston as well, and so we're covering some of those Texas markets. And then all of that's being done as a prototype to where it can be duplicated in any city. And
Awesome.
so the good thing is that how things work with a permitting department, with construction practices, trades, and all of that is very similar. So once the prototype is met, there's just going to be a few different nuances based on personality and market conditions in a different area. And so it'll be very easy for us, say if somebody calls us in anywhere USA and says, hey, I'm looking at a project, I can consult with them. They can tell me about their project. We can look at the local municipal codes and permitting and development and see what their likes, their dislikes, their questions are, and just meet their needs. It'll be very simple. And
Sure.
so the progress that we're making here can be shared and duplicated quickly.
Awesome.
And so what I found is that all the 5 things that you need are: one, you need a builder that knows how to build, one, conventionally. And I'll make real quick mention of the other techniques that are out there. I selected a technique that's very, very simple. I wanted to take a baby step. I didn't want to just like totally change the whole spectrum of how things are designed, engineered, and built. And so, for example, my frame of the house is a wood frame. Now, wood, if you're cutting down more trees than you're planting, wood is not a sustainable, the forestry products are not sustainable. If you're planting more trees than you're cutting down, wood is very sustainable under proper stewardship. And so I've always liked wood as far as utilizing that in the built space. And so my frame is the same as any other frame of any other house that you're going to see going up right now. And
Okay.
so there are other systems like ISO Hemp, Hemp Block USA. They're building with blocks. They're using timber frames and then filling in. There's what's called SIPs, the structurally engineered panels, engineered insulated concrete forms. There's a lot of different techniques that are out there that I did not choose. And I didn't select one over the other just based on, hey, this one is far superior than the other. There's some good ideas that are out there that I did not pick. I just wanted to pick something that was super simple first. There may be something that's infinitely better that I don't even know of, but even if it is better in the building and construction space, if it's not easy to implement, don't even darken my door. It's not worth pursuing. And so this is something that will give me an easy transition into utilizing hemp and HempCrete, and then that'll open the door for others as well. So number one, as a builder, taking note into the building practices, I kept it simple. And then on that line of keeping it simple where there's not a lot of transition, the next thing that you need is an engineer. Now, the engineer is the one who stamps off on the plans that the architect draws, and then to make sure that everything, the wind loads, if you're in a zone that has snow loads, to make sure the roof doesn't fall in. The main job of the engineer, other than to making sure that the plans work, is that if they don't work, they're the one that gets sued. And so they walk around with a target on their chest. They are the sacrificial lamb. And then they hold the lightning rod in the middle of a storm. And then everybody's comfortable paying them to hold the lightning rod because nobody wants to get struck by lightning. And so they're the ones who make sure that happens. Now, if they're looking at something that's super complex and has a lot of different moving parts to it, and then several different layers of knowledge and calculation have to be added into this, not only the insulation, but also the structural integrity of something that's built into a form work or something like that. That's a lot more of a difficult conversation to have, and more difficult to get an engineer on board to do that. What I'm doing is the insulation and the insulation only. That's the only thing that I'm asking hemp to be, is you put the HempCrete in the wall and it keeps everything insulated. And now to be insulation, you only need to accomplish two things. You need to have a fire rating, and then you need to have an R value. Now the ASTM tests that were recently completed, there's a scale of 1 to 10, and this thing was right around a 0. So it just nailed it. It crushed it. You've seen, if anybody's gone into researching hemp and HempCrete, there's the test where they hold it up and they have the little blowtorch on it for half an hour and it doesn't burn. The tests were what you would expect them to be, and that's phenomenal. And so everybody likes it in that regard. So you have to not burn or have a certification that you will burn at a certain rate and smoke a certain rate or whatever. And it did very well on those tests. And the other thing, you have to have an R value. Now, the straw bale construction effort of past, and then the European models where they have what's called a U value, they can be translated into the American R value. And so those translations can be made fairly easily. And with that, you've accomplished the two things that you need to accomplish. And so an engineer can stamp off on it, because you're not asking the engineer to hold the lightning rod in a super aggressive storm. You're asking them to just do something that's like, meh, okay, this isn't going to fall in on anybody. Any failure is not going to be catastrophic and life-threatening. It's not a big jump. And so with that, we move on to the plans. Now, I probably should have mentioned the architect first, because the engineer stamps what the architect draws. And so if somebody wants to build a house, like a custom home, they're either going to go to an architect first or a builder first. And then, sometimes they're one and the same, sometimes they're in the same office, but the architect designs and draws the plans that the engineer stamps. And if you've got a builder that says, this is just a pain in the neck, I don't want to do this. Or if you've got an architect that was like, you could do this, or something else. And then they're just and because they don't know about it and they're not familiar with it. So everybody that we're going to bring to your project, if you've learned enough about HempCrete where you really want to explore it and you want to do this, then you're going to need an architect and an engineer and a builder that's going to tolerate some of the difficulties, because there will be some. They're going to have to learn something new. They're going to have to adjust. They're going to have to tool up, and they're going to have to be able to calculate that. Now, what an architect has to do, and this is another reason I picked the technique that I did, is they don't have to adjust what they practice a lot. Basically, on the walls, if you've got a wall that's one thickness, you're going to bring that further in and then accommodate for a thicker wall. So it's you expanding the wall envelope just to have it be thicker, or you're going to calculate a different square footage on there. And so the changes are not big, but they are distinct. And they're going to need to know how to do not just the wall profile, but the transitions, the flashing details, and all those things. But I tell you what, once an architect finds out how to utilize HempCrete, they really like it, because you're not bound by square, flat surfaces anymore. You can do these beautiful curved lines, domes, different things like that. And so an architect can really explore a lot of creativity. And so they usually like it a lot. once they get hold of it. And so that's really nice. And so so those are the three first right out of the gate: the builder, the architect, the engineer. Now, when the rubber meets the road, you're going to need a subcontractor. Now, the builder is going to sub in your framing, your plumbing, your electric, and your insulation. Now, the HempCrete subcontractor is who the builder would call instead of calling the spray foam subcontractor. Nothing more, nothing less. It's plain, it's simple. They are a subcontractor. Now, if you want to find a HempCrete subcontractor, there's a handful maybe in the entire country. And so this is a trade that will be new. And then that's another reason that I picked it, because if I want a network of HempCrete subcontractors, I'm going to need to make them. And so that's what I'm going to be doing as far as the trainings and the workshops and just the on-the-job training that we're doing. And that's why, you know, I was excited when you volunteered to come in and like, hey, I just want to work to learn. And I was like, well, come on, I've got a spot on a crew for you. And this is one of the other things that I like is that when we were building the prototype house for our effort, it was really, as you well know, the San Antonio labor market is in high demand. And to get subs and crews to show up for, you know, we were building one prototype. You know, they didn't know if I was going to build another one or not. And so we had the double of the time getting people to really give us attention, where the production builders were like 10, 20 properties down the horizon for them, each and every builder. And so what I did is I recruited somebody who could teach and train how to do these things. And then now I just say, line me up unskilled labor, and then I'll teach them. And so that's worked fantastic for us. And then that was a gateway to finding the opportunity that was very interestingly poignant for hemp. It is that there was a lot of individuals looking for work that were incarcerated for marijuana charges. And then I had a good friend of mine who had done several years in a penitentiary because he was a fantastic horticulturalist and he could grow. And so, you know, he made some mistakes on the choices of growing and distribution, but and he paid society for that. I would argue unfairly so, but needless to say, we found a good source of labor and eager, enthusiastic individuals to learn a trade coming right out of incarceration. And so that was fantastic for us. And we're going to be pursuing that with a scholarship in his name as well. And so that's one of the things that we're enjoying. So the subcontractor is number 4. They're the ones who are actually going to do the work. And then lastly, we're going into the supplier. And then that leads us back to, that's from the farmer all the way to processing it and getting it to the job site. So of those 5 things, I'm happy to answer any questions and map out and unpack that a little bit more about what the process looks like.
Hell yeah. Well, guys, this is a perfect time to unmute, you know, and ask questions. And if someone, you know, doesn't unmute and ask a question shortly, I've got some, you know, that just listening to Ray talk, but I definitely want to kind of give, you know, people a chance to ask some of the pressing issues, because I know some people are really close to wanting to get started with projects themselves. There we go, Brendolyn. Can you? Hi. Hello, we can see and hear you.
Okay, good. Ray, amazing.
Thank you.
Amazing. I mean, I think, you know, really what is sticking out is 3 things. The first is that the idea of putting a learning curve on your team is just going to stall you if you're, you know, wanting to get into all of this more complex, you know, HempCrete industry, because the people, you know, aren't spending their nights like we are learning about this stuff and skilling themselves up. And so brilliant, just kind of trim tab there as I look to see who's going to be on our team. I think the second thing I'm hearing is just you're just always going to bump into the idea of incarceration when you're working with hemp, cannabis, or hemp. It's like, it's just there it is again, and thank you for, just your commitment to seeing that and making that part of your brand, the scholarship. I'd love to talk more about that.
Oh yeah, please, please.
And I think finally, just taking away this idea of workforce development, which is just something that I get so turned up about. I think that's just the idea of, I'm in St. Louis, Missouri, in the city, and our farm is in the country. And I'm like, what are these kids doing? Like, what? Y'all want to come, let's get you out of these kind of brick buildings. So, yeah, I appreciate that. And that's what I took so far.
Well,
Now,
thanks. Yeah, I was drugged kicking and screaming into the need to train others to do the project. I really would prefer to just pick up the phone, have the work be done, and write a check. It was not by first choice, but I tell you what, once we swallowed the pill and then went down that avenue, it has been very rewarding, and it's a slice of humanity when somebody's taking a step up and improving themselves. It is very enjoyable.
yep. And then it makes it so much better because everyone's kind of tied to it builds trust. It builds trust from the ground up, and I think that's key. That's important. That's critical. And I see Texas LA Development Group has unmuted. So I think they have some questions for you.
Hey, this is JC with Texla Development. That's Texas, Louisiana, off the Gulf
What's
Coast
up, girl? It's nice to finally, what's up?
Hey, my man, can you see me? I'm driving.
Yep,
Hey.
yep, it's official. You're a real person now. I got it.
That's it. So I've got a couple of things here. Obviously, workforce is a huge issue across the board, especially where I'm at in this industry, the marine and the marine and industrial industry, petrol refining industry, does skilled laborers on that end. But when you start talking about incorporating the products from this hemp plant, it really takes it to a different level. And I believe that there needs to be some type of outreach to the high schools, to obviously the colleges, because that is a crucial point that you made. Like, this is a new application. This is something that they've never studied before, that they need to be informed of, right? So that's huge. And then I've been doing a lot of networking, and these guys have got homes that they're wanting to build out of the hemp products, and they all have all these different products. But where are the workers going to come? The trained, skilled laborers going to come from, right? So that was
there are none.
Yeah, there are none across the board. I mean, for the most part, you have seasoned individuals, but there's always a solution to that. So I love that. Where I'm at, I have these jobs that are requiring all this product, and so I've gone searching for the product. This is all new to me. Within the last 3 to 4 months, I've been learning about all this, from CBD to industrial hemp, the products made from that, and now the cannabis side of it I've recently learned. But yeah, it's super exciting. There's so many opportunities. I think that people just need to be informed and educated. Anyway, so that's cool. The builders associations. Do you work with any of the builders associations?
As far as like the local branches of like the San Antonio Builders Association is a big group, and then they have a lot of the customers that we service just in our contracting business are production builders. And so as part of our outreach and how we'll go about this is that we want to crawl, walk, run, and then talk about the Olympics. And then the Olympics are fun to talk about, and it's all everybody talks about. But we know that we need to do small projects one at a time first, and then really take this mainstream. And so we're really cautious about that. I did stop in at the San Antonio Builders Association and ask them about what they have as far as, training and workforce and stuff. And then just about every trade, whether it's the engineers, whether it's the architects, whether it's builders, there's ongoing education to where you can learn and better yourself, because there's new technologies that are out there. Usually engineers learn new technologies because there's something from a manufacturer, whereas builders might learn something because there's a new market trend, and then this is what the market wants. And so one of the things that we'll be taking to the builders is data when we go out and we tell the story. That's why the most important thing right now is telling the story, so that people can interact with the story, and then they can click the button that says, yeah, I'd like that. I would want that if it was in the marketplace. And then we can take it to the builders associations and say, hey, I've got 200,000 people in your market area that clicked the button that said they want this. And then I don't care what it is, I've got their attention. And so when the market is driving it, then the builders will, they have to pay attention, or else they'll be left behind. And so just bringing them something new that's going to be, hey, here, try out this pain in the neck that you don't know is going to be fruitful or not. That's going to be a real short conversation. But if you take the marketplace to them, and then you say, hey, this is money. If you say anything is money, I'm definitely going to, finish the cup of coffee and entertain the conversation with you.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what'll drive that.
Nice. Well, thank you for your time and all your information.
Oh, you bet.
Well,
thanks as well for attending.
Definitely glad to get a chance to actually finally see you face to face, for a change. We'll work something out soon about actually meeting up.
Absolutely.
Ray, I did want to
thank you for putting this on, man.
Oh, hey, I am honored to do so, because this is good information that everybody needs, because I always tell people these are not money times in the cannabis space, especially on the hemp side. These are truly education and understanding and helping people. The money will come. We just have to really help each other get to a better level of understanding right now. And those who get that and understand that and are building these relationships now are the ones who will inherit the kingdom later on, in terms of, when everything's time to, divide up the spoils, So, but I did have a question. I've got a couple technical questions real quick, Ray, because people always ask me this stuff, and it's like, I'm not gonna lie, I have to pull something out my ass and tell them. So I want to make sure, I address this. In terms of what you're doing right now, are you doing spray applications yourself?
Yeah, I recently bought the equipment to where it can be spray applied. So yes, awesome. There are several different methods and machinery and techniques of spray application. So it's not spray application does not mean one size fits all. There are different ways to do that. The one that I use is the simpler, lower tech, so easy a caveman can do it type of deal, where it's all mixed up. You could cast it into place by hand, but instead you use the spray mechanism, which is just kind of a reverse vacuum cleaner. If we were kids, it's like a really aggressive way to shoot a spit wad at a wall, and then, until you have a wall. And so some of the nozzles are more complex and complicated, where it's mixing at the nozzle. And then I shied away from those, even if they're better. And some of them may be, and I don't know enough to really have an opinion on that. But the only opinion I had is like, that could go wrong. And I didn't want it to, if it did go wrong, then I wouldn't know how to fix it. This is, like I said, it's the technology is well described as shooting spit wads at a wall until you have a wall. And so it's about that complex. Now the others are a little bit more so, and I think there's some good things out there. I know there's one up in a project in Massachusetts that was just done by a company, HempStone, and then they collaborated with a couple other contractors in that area, and that was a machine that came over from Europe, and it was used, and it's in the U.S., but it doesn't have anything else slated for use after that project. And so there's some exciting things that are making their way. France really embraced the hemp technology because of the restoration of their old structures that really utilized it well in their restoration.
Yeah, and
that's why you see a lot of it coming from there.
And that's what, I tell people all the time, that are looking to really research it is look to, to other countries right now because of several reasons, different things, conspiracies or, factual accounts of things that have happened in the US. We're just kind of behind right now on that technology. It's a lost art in the US. And, it has to come back to the forefront. It's going to take a little bit of time. And, when we talk about the time commitment, versus cost, people always ask me, is it cheaper to build with HempCrete versus traditional building materials? Go. What you got?
It competes. If you were going to go in with, let's just pick a traditional material within that traditional wall cavity, are you going to put fiberglass bats in there, or are you going to put spray foam? Well, now that'll put you in a lot different price tier. The advantages of spray foam as a performance are awesome. I don't want to be in the house when it's on fire.
Absolutely.
And then it's terrible for the environment to make and manufacture by comparison to HempCrete. And so, it's, those are the trade-offs. HempCrete is going to compete and it's going to come down. Right now it competes. It is a premium product and it does command a premium price. But I'm building affordable homes. And so it's got to compete pretty well. Now we're doing a lot of the things in-house and we have a lot of economy because of that, but it does compete. Mm-hmm. With supply chains being so odd and so strange, I can't put a price tag on it, like so many dollars per square foot. There's two price points that you'll want to watch as far as commodity basis, and that's a cubic foot of HempCrete installed. And then the other is a square foot of surface area of lime plaster applied. Those are the two main things that will be the driving point of it competing against the other options that are out there. Mm-hmm. And so it does compete. The price is going to come down. My gut, and this is one of the reasons that I'm so bullish on it, is that I think it's going to be more cost effective. Everything that I'm importing from France, and that's mainly the herd and the binder right now, will be produced domestically and will be produced in Texas likely within the next 1 to 3 years.
Now, I'm telling you straight up, if you need herd, I've got people here in the US that already mm-hmm. have herd ready, for sale. My buddy, David Canby, Melissa Baldwin, I just know a lot of people that mm-hmm. have herd that's ready to go right now that's US based. So, it may happen sooner than the timeline that you just laid out. It's just all about, good old American, ingenuity and, people getting after it and rolling up their sleeves. And, another question that I, wanted to ask, and then I'm going to kind of shut up and see if anybody else has anything, but if people want to contact you, how do they go about contacting you to for these projects and whatnot?
Oh, sure. The website, hempbuildnetwork.com. That's hempbuildnetwork.com has, a contact us button on there. And then like our clubhouse group that meets once a week, I throw my cell out there and then I'd be happy to share that with you. And then, anybody who wants to message me. And then we're on Facebook and all the in Instagram and LinkedIn, anywhere you want to send me a digital message on there, and then we'll reply to you.
Now I'm gonna tell. Look, I'm gonna tell. I wouldn't be me if I didn't do what I'm about to do next. If you guys want to know how to get in contact with Ray just told you what to do. If you guys want me to get involved with helping you get in contact with Ray, I am more than happy to do so. But I'm telling you, you got to figure out how to feed the JJ if JJ gets involved. And if you don't want to feed the JJ, don't ask the JJ to get involved. Don't. Just deal with Ray directly yourself. I won't. I don't care. I'm not a greedy person. But if you ask me to get involved, I will get involved gladly. But you're going to have to figure out how to, compensate me for the time that I have to devote to these projects, in regards to everything else that I have going on as well. Shout out to my buddy. You're going to love this one, Ray. I got a good friend of mine. His name is Richard Chang. He's an attorney. He said, everybody wants your information, but nobody wants the invoice. And that is, and that's so true these days, everybody has to, I mean, you put a lot of time, energy, and effort into what you are doing and what you have the processes for, for free. I ran into you at a show. I know the show that I ran into you, I paid for my own freaking gas to get there. If I had to stay in a hotel overnight, I had to pay for that on my own. The Hemp 101s that I do, I'm paying for that stuff on my own. And very few people want to take into account, what, this poor bastard really needs to be compensated for what he's done on his own, So we have to take care of ourselves in the process of taking care of others too, because if not, we can't continue to put food on our table and keep the lights on. My Zoom bill is like $15 a month. I can't keep paying for that if I do everything for free, y'all.
Yeah.
So Ray, I really appreciate what you're doing. And now, do you have any type of referral systems or referral programs yourself through this?
Nothing formalized, but I will make a couple of comments on them because I think they're very timely, and I do respect procuring cause of a piece of business and an introduction, and then I do pay for referrals. I pay nicely. What we're doing is, this is the construction of a house. It's a large ticket item, and to make an introduction is of value, and that means payable in dollars. And so I'm more than happy to do that. If it's something that where you want to tell Aunt Susie that talked to you at the family reunion, and then they were saying that, oh, that'd be a good idea, they'd like to do that, and then they call me, make sure that they know to tell me that you said to do that, and tell them so and so sent you, and then I'm happy to do that. If you want to get involved and be more active, one of the things that we'll need is, networking and sales and things of that nature. And so I'm happy to formalize that depending on what you're wanting to do. Maybe you're a laborer that you want to start your own business. And then in doing your own business, you're going to do marketing activity that spins off these others. And so you'll be able to elevate and rise up. A lot of folks that come on as labor have the aspiration of being a subcontractor, and a lot of subcontractors have aspiration of being a general contractor. And then, how high do you want to go? I never like anybody working around me that has a glass ceiling. You might bump that ceiling, but I'm going to do my best to move it up. And so with that, I do pay very well for introductions and for any business flow and volume. Most of my adult life has been funded by my role in either making a sale, sharing an idea, or making an introduction or fulfilling an idea by servicing that. So yeah.
Well, man, you strike me, from the very beginning. I mean, you just struck me as someone that it's like, wow, I kind of want to be connected to this guy long term, because I feel like we can do good things, for each other,
Thanks.
in the industry. So, I really appreciate that. JC, did you have something? I saw you unmuted yourself.
Yeah, no, I was, that's one of the questions that I had was about the, independent sales or anything of this nature, any opportunities that you may have, as far as that goes. I do that on different levels. And now that I'm in this world, I really am passionate about this. And I believe that the implementation of these products along the Gulf Coast is, a freaking necessity. And so that was my question. Independent sales rep opportunities.
Oh yeah, and I'll give you a good example along the Gulf Coast where the hurricane just rolled right on through there. There's going to be a lot of reconstruction and building back, and then HempCrete is the ideal material to go back with because of its it's mold tolerant or damn near mold proof. And so there's going to be a lot of insurance money that's being spent to rebuild houses, to refurbish houses that were damaged and stuff like that. So, for example, there's a colleague that's working in New Orleans that is a renovation contractor, and he's got all he can handle right now. And then we've talked about, find some deals where people are building back, and then they can use the HempCrete to build back, whether their house was torn down, whatever. And so just get with me and let me know exactly what you're doing on a day-to-day. It might be you're a contractor or a subcontractor, maybe you're a farmer. Farmers who are doing anything in networking, they've got a ton of people that are asking them all the time. And so what line of business are you in on the Gulf Coast?
So industrial marine sales. My history is real estate development. So I
Nice.
know a lot about all these different worlds. And now this is coming to me, and it's just blowing my mind how this can really resolve a lot of issues from um, homes off the Gulf Coast, seawalls, bridges, highways. Like as a woman-owned corporation working on my 8A designation, my mind is open to everything. And my company, Textile Development Group, is basically a platform for independent sales rep opportunities. Okay,
Mhm.
this is just only one part of this. Thank you very much. One part of what I have going on with my company, but this would be a perfect fit to have you as a part of this, as well as Jamie and all his knowledge. But being a source of information is what it's for, and providing opportunities for people that aren't going to leave and go to college, or people
Mhm.
that want to try something different. I think it's would be a great fit for everyone involved, especially with the projects that we've been having discussions with over the past 2 months. It's on a high, there's where's the product? Where's the product? We have this huge demand. There all this
Mhm.
that needs to be built. Okay, fantastic. Well, you just brought it to a whole nother level for me. Now, I just love to further the conversation.
Yeah, I'll take it one step further. And then my background as a real estate broker and investor is that, that's how I came to hemp. And then the Hemp Build Network is a business that spun off of me wanting to build investment properties with hemp. And so it was a moment of see a need, fill a need. And it was a need that I had to fill if I wanted to do it. So if I'm going to do it, I'm going to go ahead and put it in a place to where it can duplicate. And then that way, one of my objectives is that others can do the same. And so going back to a higher level, I have a cliche that the money is in the money, and building houses with hemp is just something for money to do. And so if you have the investment opportunity that will deploy capital, you'll always have a job. And so in development, that's one of the biggest things that's there. And so just finding the property that needs development, that could, has the entitlements to where you can come in and start building. That's where I like to focus on, what's the capital stack? What are the players that are involved in there? And then you just take down the whole development instead of doing a house. Now the industry is going from being a wobbly toddler to a youth that can run. And then now you're just going through a whole development. Now your buying power, if you go to a farmer or a processor and you're like, hi, I have a development where we're putting in 200 units. I'd like to put in a purchase order. That phone call is going to get returned. One person with a prototype, that's tough. And so, but you have to go through that first before you can do the other. And we're at that stage. There's several developments that I've looked at that already have entitlements that are ready and able. And, as people want to developers aren't always the villain. They get painted the villain in every Disney movie that you're going to watch, that they're going to, tear down the trees and, kill all the endangered species. Developers are doing a job, and then they are often only allowed to do what a local municipality will allow. If they want to have a different size and proportion of lots to where you can have more green space or less of one thing and more of another, oftentimes they can't. I know that because I looked at doing it, and then you are put into a box of how you can do it, and you're not allowed to change the rules. Well, some areas are looking at that critically. I'll shine light on San Marcos, Texas, just south of Austin. They just rewrote their whole codes that enable a developer to do that type of creative development because they're right on top of the Edwards Aquifer. They have a lot of natural resources in the San Marcos Springs and a lot of endangered species that live only there. And so they really are highly motivated those natural resources are part of the economy and the livelihood. And so that's driving that. And so as is public opinion, which leads me back to, if public opinion wants it and is willing to pay for it, then the market is going to serve that. And so development is one of the key things that I'm passionate about. And then changing the way it does it, whether it's an agri-hood style, whether it's just incorporating sustainable building practices, we're not going to get the environmental stewardship benefit out of using hemp as a sustainable building practice unless we bring the developer into it, unless we bring the bad guy, the villain, the evil profit motivated capitalist, the large national building franchises, and we bring them back in to where they get to be the Darth Vader returning to be Anakin Skywalker at the end. So I'm looking forward to the happy ending.
Brendalyn has a question. I saw her raise her hand.
Thank you. Quickly, Ray.
Hey again.
Thank you for that. And I'll see you on Clubhouse. I've got so many questions, but just one for now. When is Clubhouse? Don't forget to tell us that when you get there. And then my question is, what's the conversation with the farmers? I know that you're kind of importing, but we're in the rural of middle America. And so we are, yes, interested in building our own cabins with HempCrete and, kind of rehabbing a smaller development, but just think of it as like resort camping grounds. But we've got farmland and we're in the middle of a bunch of corn that we just don't even like seeing and driving past. But these are our neighbors. We want to create relationships, and that flat farmland across the road is looking really appealing to me versus my hilly, rocky that I can't really grow on. So I do need some relationships with the local farmers. What resonates to them in this market, or in this kind of HempCrete conversation?
Yeah, great questions. Well, first of all, Clubhouse is every Thursday at 6 p.m. Central. And then so translate that to whatever time zone you're in. That's every Thursday at 6 p.m. And that's the Hemp Building and Construction Club. And so we lead that, and we've just got a lot of good collaborative conversation on there. And then Gene also publishes hempbuildmag.com. And then that's where that conversation goes off into a longer train of thought that's a resource for everybody. But the conversation with farmers have a real high priority on something very simple: getting paid. There's a lot of farmers that grew and then weren't able to get paid. They ran through the meat grinder and didn't have anything left. And so being able to show that from all the way from the genetics that they'll be able to get it predictably, and then to the processor that will buy what they're selling, either that or they'll be able to process it themselves. There's some large scale farmers that I was talking with at the Hemp Harvest Festival that are out of the panhandle of Texas, and they've got several thousand acres that they can farm and grow hemp, and then they've got the stroke to put in a processing facility. Their main concern is making sure that the offtakes have a buyer. It doesn't do you any good to produce 1 million pounds of fiber bast if there's not a textile market or an automobile manufacturing market to buy it. So a lot of those end users in the offtakes are what's going to drive it backwards. So if you've got it sold, then everything backwards is just business fundamentals. So the industry will drive that.
And I always tell people, oh, sorry, go ahead, Ray.
Yeah, go ahead. No,
I was going to say, I always tell people during my Hemp 101 seminars that I do, don't put plants in the ground until you have a contract, because if you don't know who your end user is, what in the hell are you planning for? You're planning for failure, is the bottom line. And, we don't want to do that. And we don't want to set people up for failure like that, because something that you have to think about, Brendalyn, with these farmers is a lot of farmers, they're used to traditional farming. They're used to taking all the risk up front on their own. They're used to paying for all their inputs and doing all that stuff to get their oranges, pineapple, whatever the crop is. And then they harvest it, and then they go to the market and they sell it. And they equate that firsthand experience to hemp. And that is total bullshit. They are not the same experience, because you can grow something here and pay for everything on your own and not have anyone at the end to buy it. And they will do that on purpose because they are turds. They will let you damn near go broke on your own and then make you a lowball offer when you're desperate. Don't set yourself up for failure like that. And another thing that you can do, Brendan, I'm just going to share something with you just to kind of, help out with these farmers, right? So if we look here at the page that I started for Missouri, the Missouri page only has 24 people on it. So what you could probably do, because I don't live in Missouri, but what you can do is you're more than welcome to add as many people as you want to this page, right? So, by adding people to this page, from the moment that they click join, they accept the invite, look at what they tap into. They tap into a running history, a running log of information that they can tap into, whether it's on the industrial side, whether it's on the medical side. They get to tap into this information 24/7 in the comfort and convenience of their home. And then when they are comfortable with this information that they're receiving without being strong-armed, guess what? They start reaching out. They're more willing to have people come on their land and do certain things or have certain conversations because it's not their first time seeing that information. So instead of trying to get in front of everyone and talk and convince them and because me personally, I'm gonna be like, get out of my face because I'm and sometimes it's the person, maybe they didn't shower, maybe you got to put on deodorant that morning and you're waving your arms and you're talking to somebody and it's just a turnoff. Who knows, but by giving people access to the information, that's going to help them and their mindset on their own at a time when people need to understand fundamentally, people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. So let's help them first, get them in front of the information, and then let them kind of start reaching out on their own as they start understanding, more and more. And Ray, one of the questions that I wanted to ask you real quick, I would be remiss because I know you probably somewhere subliminally want to say this, but I'm going to channel it through me so you don't have to. How do you sort through the bullshit, people? Like, what is your litmus test? Because people say all the time, I want to do this. I'm ready. Yeah, let's go. Rah, 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 team. Let's do it. But then you don't hear anything from them. So what is the first thing that Ray looks for to know if he has a serious, because for me and what I do, you need to show me a letter of intent, and then you need to show me proof of funds. If you can't show me those things, you need to get out my face because you're not serious. You're not ready. So what's your litmus test, for your process?
It's and it is unfortunate that the industry draws a lot of passion and it draws a lot of interest, and a lot of those people are very well intended, very good people wanting to do good things for good reasons, but for lack of a technical term, they just don't have their shit together. Yep. And then
that's the technicality I was looking for. Yes, now we're talking.
There's the other side of that. Then there's the people that don't have their shit together, and then there's the people who just are full of shit. And so those two shitometers, if you will, are difficult to measure. And it's discernment. And then if you're going along through the conversations, I like to talk with everybody, because the people who are, they're on step number 3 and somebody else might be on step number 10. I'm not going to discourage them from going to step number 4. I just want to move on or cultivate a relationship, how that grows. But when the ones that are just like, if we were at a skate park, they'd be called posers. The ones that are just all hat, no cattle. Yeah. And that's pretty easy to smell. It's pretty easy to smell the unicorn farts, as somebody said. People are riding in on unicorns with fairy dust, and there's a certain smell that goes to that. If people say a lot of first person things, and you ask them about what they did, and then it really wasn't what they did, it was what was else done, or something that they're gonna do or whatever, I'll let you know. I haven't built a house, but I own a lot that's going in for building permit, and then I own the machinery that's going to do it, and then I'll let you know exactly where I am. I like to play poker with my cards face up. Within a couple of months I will have built several, and so that's not everything, but it's something. And then financial capability is good, performance is good. Really just getting in a conversation and feeling the vibe out of like, ask them, that's a great thought, what are the next steps? And if they have a clear next steps, then you know that you're taking the right steps. But if they're like, get to the next steps and there's a lot of we're gonna this and we're gonna that and we're not yet, and all the other. Now there's a lot of folks that really have no business recruiting money, and they're recruiting money. And then what'll happen is they won't recruit money, or worse, they will. And then there's going to be some bad news stories. There are going to be some failures out there, and so that's the industry needs successes. But it's just discernment, and you got to have it, and you got to be kind to people. And I would not recommend telling someone that they're full of shit if that's the discernment that you make. But
I'll do it. I'll do it.
And then tell them to talk to JJ. He's got he's got some love to. He's got some truth to speak with love. Speak the truth with love, JJ.
Amen, bro.
It's all about
Amen.
restoration, not destruction. And so, all the lessons you learned in Sunday school apply there. And
now, to be fair to the public, if anyone deals directly with Ray, you've heard his process, and that's cool. But if you pull me into the mix, I'm telling you, I'm going to need to see a letter of intent first before I ever pick up the phone and call Ray. And depending upon what it is you're trying to do, very well may ask to see, do you have financial proof, money sitting in escrow, or whatever the case may be? Because the thing about it is, the more I contact Ray and waste his time, the more of an ass I look like in the long run. And I'm going to do my homework first to make sure I vet people as much as possible to protect my friend. I have very credible friends in this industry, and I want to make sure that their time is not wasted. So I would much prefer to put a couple measures in place to make sure people are good to go before.
Or if you've got a real deal.
Right.
I'll share an example back to Brendolyn. I drove through Missouri last week, and one of the appointments that I had, I was picking up a piece of equipment, bringing it back to Texas. But one of the appointments I had was somebody who reached out to me on LinkedIn and was asking, what about a processing facility? And then he had an interest in that. And so this is a real live example, so it's really good for the conversation. And I got on the call with him, and it's like, tell me about what you're thinking. Well, one of the things that the CBD industry taught us was that the log jam was at the processing level. Now, there's a lot of large farms that were able to just buy their own equipment, and they were their own processing facility. There's a lot of small farms that really lost a lot and went through the meat grinder because they couldn't sell to a processor because there were none, and or they were backlogged, or they bought everything that they could that was overproduced, and they didn't want anymore. So they didn't have that power. The farmer didn't have access to the power of the paradigm of processing. And so this one gentleman, he called me up and he said, he's from a farming community in Missouri, and then he wanted to look at being a processing facility. Now, and he was going to ask me, what would it look like to be a processing facility? I asked him a couple of questions. Do you have a piece of real estate in mind? And then he was like, yes, there's two. I have one under contract, and then the other one is I'm in conversation with the local municipality to where I can have it or lease it long term, or buy it if I can have a use for it. Now he's real. Does he have money? Well, he can put it under contract. He could buy the property, But if he brought the land to the deal and then I brought something else, and then we both together use those two things to recruit capital, now we've got a deal. Does the person that you're talking to have one key ingredient? It doesn't have to be money. It can be a deal. It can be intellectual property, all those things that make things happen, but they got to have at least one puzzle piece to get to the table. And that's a good example. And Brindlin, I'd like to thank you for asking the question on that, because it does show how the farmer can come to the table with no money, but with the ability to produce the crop. So that if there's the other puzzle piece of the processor, they're no good without the farmer, and the farmer's no good without them. And then together, I like to come in and be the middle puzzle piece if I can, or be a catalyst to the thing. And, you know, that's what JJ likes to do. It's like, hey, how do we look at all these different puzzle pieces and make something come out of it? And then do they have a key puzzle piece is a good way to discern. So, yeah.
Absolutely. How do we get everybody to win? Yep. Absolutely. So, does anybody else have anything else, you know, question wise? I mean, we're a little bit over, we're right at an hour now, and want to see if anybody else had any questions, because I mean, it's an amazing discussion. I'm not trying to cut it off by any means, but let's hit the hard stuff and get it out of the way.
Hey, Ray, do you want to let them know about the upcoming classes we have coming up? It's a little loud for me to go into detail on that. You may not be able to hear it.
Yeah, thanks, Sandra. And then JJ and I, when we met at the Harvest Festival, we've got 3 classes and workshops that are coming up in the Texas market. One is just north of Houston on November 4th. One is just south of Austin in New Braunfels on November 6th. And then one is in San Antonio on the north side of San Antonio on November 13th. So those will all be back to back. They'll be very similar, but a little bit different. The one on the 4th has a tour of actual guest house and chapel that was built on an estate property in 2008, believe it or not. This was way before the Farm Bill passed in 2014 for trial grows. This lady was going for a certain look. She was a builder and, designing something that she wanted. And, when you put hemp into the built space, you've got that beautiful old world look. And that's what she was after, and really nailed it. And so we'll be able to tour that property as well as get our hands in it and make some actual HempCrete, cast it up in place, let you know what that feels like. And then there'll be a hands-on aspect to it on all of them. But if on hempbuildnetwork.com, there's a link in the middle that takes you to the Eventbrite pages for all of those. And then, we'll post all of the upcoming events through JJ as well to let
absolutely.
the network know what's going on. And so you can plug in. And then the other thing is, if you would like to host an event,
there you go. I was going to get to that.
There's a project that you've got going on. Then it's like, hey, I would love to have the resources available in wherever it is, USA, and then, but I don't, and then so we can work with local universities, local trade schools, local builders associations, municipalities, and all of the above to put all this together to where we come together, collaborate, make some samples. Best yet is just to do a project, especially if there's one that's there where we can build. And there's several markets that I'm looking to build in. There's a math equation that I like to hit, whether I'll go into a market or not. So find a good investment deal to where we can deploy capital and then build off of that energy is the best way to do that. But yeah, let me know if you're interested, and then I'll work towards that destination if we can. I've had several that have reached out to me in that regard. For example, the guy where I was picking up the mixer. He does real estate investment kind of on the side with his family, as do most people. If they're building wealth, they'll have some real estate investment. And he's like, hey, I like this. I would like to see me be able to do this and build rental properties or renovate properties as investment. Well, let's go. Can you do this, 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 and this in your market area? Yes, absolutely. Well, then let's work towards it. And then these are the next steps. And so we put that in motion. And then now he's off doing his homework, putting together those next puzzle pieces. So yeah,
Well,
coming to a town near you.
it looks like Brendolyn, she just said, yes, this is us. So I know you got some definite interest in Missouri.
Perfect.
You know, in terms of coming to that area. I'm not sure. And, you know, it takes, you know, it takes resources, you know, to get from Texas to Missouri. So I'm not sure
Well,
how.
there's a supplier
Don't
that's
worry, JJ. Don't worry, JJ.
Okay. All right. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. I just, I want to make sure you, girl, you'd be surprised at some of the people that, and what some people expect you to do on your own.
Right.
Like it's crazy. That's all I'm gonna say.
I wasn't raised that way, but
Thank you. I'm glad. Kiss your parents for me.
I was just east of Springfield in the area where I was coming through where there was some interest. And so right around in that area, I do know that there's a processor that would want to go in. And I do know that there's somebody supplying some hemp and lime in that area as well.
Awesome. It looks like you got some interest down in the Gulf Coast with JC, you know, as well. So, you know, whatever we can, you know, do, you know, to facilitate that'd be awesome. And the one thing that I'm gonna challenge everybody before, you know, we get off the phone. You know, one of my mentors taught me I can see a whole lot better than I can hear, you know. So, you know, this is wonderful discussion. This was a wonderful conversation, but guys, you know, we need everybody to stay committed to this like the pig and not the chicken. You know what I'm saying? You have to in order for this thing to grow and get better. So please, by all means, don't lose. Hey, JC, we cannot hear you. You sound like RoboCop right now. So I'm not sure where you're at or what, but we can't hear you too good. They say if you pay some of your cell phone bill, you get some of your service. You know that, right? I'm joking. But, you know, I hope everyone can stay committed, you know, to this, you know, long term and not overextend themselves, but at the same time, you know, be able to do some credible things. So, Ray, do you have any closing comments or anything that you want to leave us with?
Yeah, you know, a lot of it is the don't quit your day job.
Dedication. What's your definition of dedication?
Okay, now you're starting to, okay, JC, I think you're kind of starting to come back, I think.
The dedication metaphor about the chicken and the pig.
Oh, what do I mean by that?
No, I've heard it. You know, the chicken's involved and the pig's committed.
Look, when it comes to the meal, the chicken can sit down and shit an egg and get up and leave. The pig got to leave some ass at the table if he want to commit. So the pig is always going to be committed more than the chicken, you know, to the meal. I'm not sure if that helps anybody, but yeah, that's what that's all about.
So can you guys hear me?
Now we can finally hear you.
Okay, fantastic. So I had a couple of questions run through my mind. Farmers insurance. The farmers that I'm talking to, they want to know, is there some type of, you know, is an insurance, right, for their crop? I talked to an insurance girl. I know she said she does know about crop insurance. So that may just be food for thought for anybody that needs that information. But I was wondering if you guys knew anything about it, you know, any insight or anything.
I know people who have crop insurance. I know people who do crop insurance for hemp.
Perfect. That was my question.
Yes.
And a lot of that will depend on what you're growing. If you're growing, we'll let the signal catch up.
JC, I'm not sure what's going on with your signal right now, but it's still behind.
I'll go ahead and talk to the question that you asked a little bit about crop insurance and being able to get that. And then, yes, it's one of the things that's necessary. Another one of the things that's necessary that will, it's not really mandatory, but will bring a lot of stability is a, you know, futures and commodities crop, you know, to where, you know, a farmer can sell a portion of that on a futures contract to where it's committed and they know they're going to make something. And so there's a little bit more stability and you minimize that risk. Now it's a trade-off of what they'll do, and they might not do that with their whole crop, but it gets a bit of stability to them to where they can plan and take measures in what's necessary. And the other thing is just the catastrophic failure, like a hailstorm, things like that. Now, one of the things that made it difficult is that what happens if it tests hot? I know on the CBD side, if you have the high THC rating, well, then there's, crop destruction and some mayhem stories that are absolutely heartbreaking on that. But if you get involved, and this is one of the things that's going to be good about the fiber and the grain markets, is because they have less tendency and propensity to have a lot of the controversy that the cannabinoid crops have. And so I think they're going to lend themselves to be more easily insured, and to where the insurance companies can come up and they can have a stable product in the market by insuring the crop. And so I don't know extensively about that, but I do know that those things are coming in place. And then JJ, you said you did know of some where they're able to get crop insurance.
Yep. Through I have contacts. I really have contacts with Herring Bank, and Herring Bank has an affiliation with I forget the name of the group, but they crop insurance is definitely one of those things that's starting to come to the forefront, and we do have people that can help them get situated with that if the need arises.
Great questions.
Yeah, absolutely. So are we all set? We all good to go? Going once, going twice. Well, Ray, once again, thank you so much. And like I said, this was recorded, and I'm going to get this recording over to you, and I'm going to get it out to everyone.
Oh, sure.
So
Thanks.
y'all can play it around for different people. That way you don't have to do so much talking. Just send them a video link. Let them look at it for themselves. Let them make up their minds. It keeps it easy, and it keeps everybody moving forward. So once again, Ray, thank you so much for your time being here, and what you have put together. On the HempCrete side, it's amazing, and I can't wait to help get some things going for you.
Yeah, look, I'm looking forward to connecting to where we can put a lot of different content out as these projects are going forward. So everything can be show and tell from the job site, since you're going to be on the job site, and then we can talk about that, because nothing makes things make sense like doing them. And then that'll be fun for me, you, the whole group, and the network.
I'm putting 13 November on my calendar right now, because I will get with you for those details. I will be there,
and it'll be fun before that, because we'll be framing it up.
Nice. Cool.
Thanks, JJ. Okay.
Well, thank you so much for your time, man. You have a good evening. We'll see you soon.
You bet.
Everybody else, y'all have a good night. Bye-bye.
Bye. Thanks.
You're welcome. Bye-bye.
Bye. Thank you.